Hello.
Hey.
Beautiful people. Hi, Nadine. Hi, Wolfie.
Hey, everyone.
Hi.
LFT is going to be listening while she's running some errands. Hi, Queen. And I think a few of these were comments before we even started. The dog's already ready to go. My wolf is here. Nadine says, my wolf is here.
Woofy.
Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. I know we're a little later than normal. But you know, that's how it goes when we have to try to collab on times and get everybody settled. And but I think everybody up here tonight, you guys are somewhat familiar with. So we'll go across the panel, and you know, I'm Teresa, and then Christine is here in the middle, top middle, and then we have Missy, who is normally in the chat wrenching, but she has come up and talked about the Johnny Depp case and is gracious enough to come up tonight and talk about Lori and Chad. And then we have the lovely Alex Erickson. I think you guys are all familiar with her.
Hi.
And then we have the beauty over here down on the bottom. I don't know if she's right to me. I think she right to you guys too. I think that would be how it is. The lovely mi amor Michelle. And Jennifer the hooligan says, ironic, she just finished watching Tylee's interview.
Oh.
Dude, those are hard.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those are hard to watch. Knowing everything you know now, those are very hard to watch. Hi, Carolina.
Yeah. Seeing her sitting in there, oh my God, it's just like you just want to get her out of there and run. Like, just take, I don't know.
She's at that age that she knows like she is literally taking it all in, versus a child who, someone a little bit more resilient in this and can kind of, what's going on, maybe this. She soaked all of that in, sadly.
Hi, Misty.
That Melanie Gibb interview, y'all should check that one out if you haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, that's a good one.
With the flop and bang, that's like like her bangs are sticking straight up.
Like a little something about Mary.
Yeah, exactly.
Went for the hair gel.
Oh, you got hair gel. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys all for joining us tonight. I know that we're going to go through. You guys tell me how the plan is, but I think we're going to go through the whole timeline in the short version, not all the little tiny,
condensed,
intricate piece. Yeah, the overall timeline of events, and then we can kind of discuss the documentary if you guys have watched it, the Sins of Our Mother, which is Netflix. It's 3 episodes, and it's basically from Colby's perspective. So I know there's some things that are kind of left out because they really didn't involve what he was doing. So, oh, Jules, have you? Okay, so you haven't watched the Netflix yet, but followed this case from the beginning. Okay, well, I'm curious. You have to come back when you do watch or not. You can stay now. That's not what I mean. But I want to hear your perspective of what we cover and also what your perspective is on the Netflix. Yeah, don't leave to go watch it though.
Watch it later.
Watch it later. Watch it later.
I think we're like divided on the panel who's seen it and who hasn't. I have not.
Christine has not. Allie has not. Missy has. I have. And Michelle is 2 episodes in.
And then took a nap.
You fall asleep watching that.
I had a burger.
It makes sense. Nadine says,
She
I
was
know a
on Big
little
Swamp.
about it. I'm only here because y'all are my faves.
Oh, Nadine.
Hi, Jax. Okay, Jules is going to watch it later. We're safe. She's not going to leave and go watch it right now.
Right, Jules, stay.
Wolfie changed her name to Wolfie of Nadine.
I love it.
Wolfie of Nadine. Here you go,
That's
Nadine.
awesome. All right, I'm gonna turn my camera off because it's dark here. But I wanted to say hi to everybody first, so I'm gonna turn my camera off. But then we'll go through the timeline. So if you're not overly familiar with the case, you're gonna know enough about the case after tonight's live that if you do watch the documentary, it'll all make sense. So if you're not overly involved in the Lori Chad saga, this should catch you up where you feel comfortable enough to say you kind of know what you're talking about.
You could spend years at this point. It's been years.
Oh
There's
God.
so much to look into. This is the overview, and then you can just go down every avenue and spend hours and hours and hours.
So many rabbit holes.
That is the truth.
Reading texts and affidavits and documents and oh my gosh. And social media.
Watching that pretrial
Yes.
hearing. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk about some of the rabbit holes because there was some things that I just found out more recently too that I thought were pretty interesting. Hi, Roxanne. But when we get there, I'll bring it up. But because
So I just want to say, like, I've been following this case. So my whole background of this case is mostly comes from Reddit, because for those of you that don't know, I used to be like majorly involved as a Reddit moderator, like in some of the larger subreddits. So the largest subreddit for the Vallow case was one of the ones that I worked on. And so that's like where all my knowledge comes from. But I kind of stepped away from Reddit about like a year and a half ago. So I haven't been following it as closely since then. But back in the day, I remember I was so like enthused on this case because when they thought that Lori was still in Idaho and she wasn't producing the kids, and
Yes.
she had that court date coming up, and in Idaho, like the bakeries at like Bel Air or something, I don't know, started making like cupcakes and cookies that said "Where are the kids?" just to make her uncomfortable, and I loved it. I was about like every time you can't even walk into the grocery store without people like, "Where are the kids, Lori?"
Oh my gosh. I'll never forget when they were missing, and like, and Nate, like when they're in Hawaii and Nate Eaton goes down there and he's like, Lori, where are your kids? And she's just like smiling and all happy. It's
That's what hurts now, and especially watching the documentary or following, it's emotional to see those moments again and know what's coming now. Because then we didn't know exactly what was coming. It's in the back of your head. These things tend to go that way. But I still had hope that she was just being weird and hiding them. And so
I'm
now
curious,
rewatching it,
how many of you guys thought that they were alive or anything like during that time? That's so
initially I
interesting.
did. Initially I did. I thought that she was hiding them on purpose, and just from what I've read and gleaned from the religious affiliation, I thought that she just put them deep underground, but that was before I went too deep into looking into her past.
I
And
initially thought they were alive too. Definitely. I didn't.
I really hoped they were. I was hoping that they were like hidden in some weird bunker somewhere, or so. Jack says even though the charges were dismissed for now or whatever, I can't believe Colby got arrested and admitted he did what he did. That really upsets me.
Yeah.
I think there's so much more complex to that situation that I'm curious to know. I don't know. Some people were like not surprised, and for me, I was like totally like, what?
Oh my God, I saw it on your page. I was like,
well, as soon as I saw it, I like freaked out. I was like, no way. Like Colby was like the one that I was like, he's going to be okay. Like he's going to make it out of this, because I thought maybe he was old enough to, to kind of miss her super crazy times. Obviously, in my perspective, the woman did not just become like that overnight. I know people think that, but there was obviously some traits to whatever was happening. I mean, before she ever met Chad, she was talking about that she wanted to kill one of her husbands, but we can talk about that later.
I mean, I was going to say the same thing. I am of the belief that she has been like this way longer, and they're giving her too much credit by acting like she was nothing but a Stepford wife or a supermom before. And I just think that the kids and Colby himself, he was too young to really notice it or maybe put everything together. Because I find her relationship with her brother Alex very weird. And that goes back a long time. All the way back to her sister passing, who was not mentioned in the documentary at all.
Okay, so we'll talk about that for just a second, because I know there's people who haven't seen it. But so Lori's niece Melanie is an integral part of everything that happens, and Melanie's mom was Lori's sister Stacy. And when they go over all the siblings, and Stacy passed away many, many years ago, but they did not ever talk about that Stacy even being a child. So even
they
when
did
Lori's
a graphic
mom,
with the family tree.
Right.
And they
talk about how many children she has, and she talks about Adam, and she talks about Alex, and she talks about Lori, and she talks about Summer.
Wow.
And like Stacy's like non-existent. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, are they doing that because these are the people that are alive at the time? But they like never reference her. So I thought it was weird because they do kind of go to talking about Melanie, Lori's niece, Melanie, and they never mention her mom. Like, how is this her niece? Or her mom had passed away when she was very young, and so I thought maybe they just kind of throw it in there somewhere, but they don't. Like, they don't. Like, she never existed.
Well, there's another brother that like not a lot of people talk about, but his name is Adam Cox.
Adam, yep.
Well, and Adam is a big part of this.
He is. He's in the documentary.
Oh, good. And also Adam used to be a radio DJ. And Teresa, you might remember this, but I was listening to the show. Like they did and this is besides the point a little bit, but they're no stranger to like drama in that family. But her brother Adam Cox was a radio DJ, and they did a really like controversial contest like on the live morning show, and it was called Hold Your Wee for a Wee. And a woman actually died from
drinking it. Yep.
From drinking too much water, and she passed away, and it ended up like the whole radio show and the station, I think, like disbanded because of it. They were sued and stuff, but there's a lot of controversy in that family just in general.
I remember when that first happened, Michelle was actually featured on Philly radio. I listened to the clip on the way to school and they played the whole broadcast and explained it back then. And then
it was my local radio show, so I was definitely listening, and it was
wild.
A big deal. But besides the point, that's also one of her brothers. I don't know anything about the sister.
So the sister passed away, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was complications to diabetes.
That's what they say, yes. But there's they hint at Alex and Lori and her husband, and there was all that, and I wonder if that controversy is why they left her out, because of what was being said on social media and people digging into their past.
The whole thing is very strange. The whole thing is very strange. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So anybody who doesn't know who these people are, let me share this. So I just want to tell you guys in chat, like, what a great job Missy and Alex have done putting stuff together for this, and Missy has created some beautiful Google slides for us to be able to walk through, because she's like, I need visual. I'm like, do it, girl.
Oh, I didn't do anything, but thank you. That was forever
Yes, you
ago.
did, because your stuff is in here too.
Yeah, you contributed.
Yes, you did.
Chats contribute.
I didn't, but here I am.
You contribute with your cute little laugh.
Lori.
Okay. All right, so you tell me when I should go to the next one.
Okay. You can go to the next one. This is just, this is Lori.
This is your most recent one, right?
Yeah, after the mental hospital.
You guys might not recognize her without her cowardly lion curls.
I just have to say that if someone needs to make a PowerPoint presentation and flowcharts to explain your marriages and circumstances surrounding your life, it's a bad sign. It's not a good look if you need flowcharts.
Well, do you remember the beginning? So people were like arguing in Facebook groups about how many times this woman had been married.
Mm-hmm.
And because they could not figure out who this first husband was. So most of the time you do hear like she was married 4 times or 3 times. Mm-hmm. And they just think about the last 3, and they forget all about these other guys.
I know. And well, see, Nelson was her high school sweetheart, and they got married right after high school, and they weren't married long. So, he is easy to forget, I guess. And because he wasn't part of the rest of the drama, I'm trying to be nice. Because number 2, she had Colby with him, but he didn't want to be a father. So, he's out of the picture. So it's really when you get into the last 3 that ramps up.
When I did my chart too, like I only did the last 3 because those are the only 3 that even play a part. I mean, Colby's dad fathered Colby, and he's alive right now, but it didn't really, I don't know. I just felt like those were the only 3 that were really relevant to the case like that. There's already so much freaking information to go through.
I know.
Is Kelly's dad though the one that they say that there was like allegations of like SA with Colby and Tylee, or
Yeah, it's Tylee's dad, so Joseph Ryan.
Joseph
okay.
Ryan, yep.
And they do talk about that in the documentary. They talk about, Colby talks about what happened with Joseph or Joe, and then his sister, Joe's sister, has her own podcast, and she's been going through all the court docs and whatnot, and she has a difference of opinion on, I think, the whole documentary, but it's from Colby's perspective, so I can see why it was put together the way that it was, but I also respect her side, and things obviously get edited. So the allegations were never substantiated, so there's nothing that shows that they were or weren't true. Colby says that it happened. There is documentation of Lori telling other people that it happened. But he says it happened to both, or she says it happened to both children. And so there's like a recording of her, like basically saying, like, I need to get the heck out of here, or I'm going to end up, like, I need to turn my life over to Jesus again, because otherwise I'm going to end up killing this guy. Because he's done this to my children.
When Lori was going through her divorce with him, there was a lot of fighting over Tylee, and there was, social services had to step in, interview Tylee. This is a rabbit hole in itself, like a huge one, going through all of their court documents and stuff like that, which there's a creator who did it.
She points and says the lights are.
I don't know why that my premium on my phone just starts playing random YouTube videos.
The one that wears the tinfoil hat, what's her name? Nor Jasmine. She did a really good video on their custody hearings.
I try to fight them and they won't back off.
Oh wait.
Hold on, let me get out of that. I don't know why it does that. Sorry.
That's okay. But so she dug through all their documents from their custody cases and stuff. But so these social workers had set in with Tylee, and they ended up saying that they did not believe Lori, and they thought Tylee was coached, and she, the allegations were not true. That's from them. Now, I don't know if they're true or not. I'm just saying that is what the conclusion that they came to.
Oh, I'm glad Steph is here. She has a lot of good information.
For true crime followers, Joseph Ryan's sister that we're mentioning is Annie Cushion, right?
Yes.
And so she's huge in like true crime. And is she like a web sleuth?
She has a channel called Analytics and then A Murderous Heart. She's what are she did? I guess she did analytics before this. So she used
she
it
put
to
out a
like
statement.
Deep dive in the case.
She put out a statement about Kobe, about what Kobe had to say about Joseph Ryan throughout the first episode.
Ooh, what'd she say?
Ooh, Teresa, do you still have that? She basically called him a liar and said that didn't happen.
So this is so she posted it in her Facebook group. I hope that she doesn't get mad if I share it, because I really like her. So, but I'm gonna share it anyway. Let me find it. Hold on. So she does. So she does. She's interviewed for the documentary, and I think her frustration comes from the way that they kind of edited her part and piece together. And for those who haven't seen it, I'm not trying to ruin it or anything, but hi Amelia. Hi, I've learned a lot. She as Colby's talking about the essay from Joe Ryan, they kind of clipped something that Annie said and put it in this spot. Like, so I think, I'm not going to be able to quote it perfectly, but Annie says, I had asked Lori if he was abusive and wanted to make sure that, she was got away and was safe. So that kind of goes with that. So she says, I'm so angry. I already know from one of my admins that they never present an opposing view of Colby's essay allegations. That was what the producer used to get me to interview. So I felt obligated to do this stupid interview, because if I didn't, it would only be Colby and his lies. Instead, they use a quote of mine about how I feared for Lori and Colby's safety because of Joe's rage to make it look like I even thought he was an abuser. So she's talking about the fact that she knew that her brother had like violent tendencies, basically. And I don't want to put words in her mouth, so please don't think I am. But that she does not believe that he ever essayed any of the children. But I don't. It's such a tough thing because nobody wants to think that their sibling would ever do that. But you also have a family that's, and I think that, you know, one of the gals, I think it was Jax, somebody set it up above, like, this family's been through an immense amount of just, you know, trauma their whole lives. So I don't know. Is it something that could be made up? We don't know. I don't know Colby either.
It's hard to look at it now and look back at it, because you don't want to accuse someone of lying about something like that, but at the same time, we're looking at it through the lens of Lori has lied and gotten away with everything all these years. And we'll get into it later, but basically anybody that was frustrated with her, didn't do her bidding, or didn't worship her, she later considered a zombie and they needed to disappear. So it's hard to, I can't imagine having to be in that position and
And I'm
think
not
that
gonna
about
lie, I
who you are.
speculated, like, did Lori convince Colby that this did happen?
That's where
Not
my
out of the
mind is,
question.
but it's an uncomfortable thought to have.
It is, and I mean, it's, you know how hard it is, like, for women to come forward that have been abused. It's, you know, so much harder for men to come forward, and that's what makes me go, like, I don't think he's lying. I don't think he's lying. It's either it did happen, or he was absolutely convinced it did happen.
Yeah,
Can
that's
I
what I
just
was thinking. What if he was convinced?
I want to poke in real quick and say that all of our reverence and our sympathies and our respect go out to JJ's grandparents.
Oh my gosh.
First and foremost, they have been like lights in the dark and steady, you know, with their convictions, and respectable and great.
They
Like,
make me cry.
yeah, they've just been nothing but totally classy and on they have a purpose, and you know, I respect them so much. So if you know, I'm sure they're not watching, but our thoughts and prayers and everything are totally with them.
Yeah.
They were the most loving in all of this.
Oh my gosh, pitiful watching them sometimes. They just break your heart.
They're just an example of I hate talking about somebody's reaction, because we go to WATTS, how he reacted, when his kids were supposedly missing. And when you look at the Woodcocks, they're an example of somebody going through trauma, somebody who was nervous, worried, every time they were interviewed. When you look at somebody to decide whether they're suspicious of doing something, but my heart is broken for them the entire time through all of this. And all of the people that spoke out about her and were gaslit or made to believe that they didn't know what they were talking about. She really charmed the pants off of many people.
Well, I think at first that they thought that JJ would be coming home. I really do, just based on like the way that they acted and stuff, which is so sad. Just their whole journey through all of it to when they were found. I mean, and they went straight out there. I remember because they were interviewed out there at Chad's house.
I mean, especially since there was that time I was talking to Stephanie about this, that she didn't see JJ for 72 days. That she wasn't living with him. He was with Charles. And Charles was trying to work things out with her. And so you want to think, oh, if you're the family side, she's just doing one of those things again. But this time she's just trying to punish us. And so she's hiding them. So I could see them thinking that there was a chance that he would still be alive.
They're good people. They didn't deserve this at all.
No. It's so sad.
Okay, so she divorces Joseph and takes the kids, and there's all kinds of moves and stuff. I couldn't even keep track of that. I don't know if you have that. You might have that all in your timeline. I'm not sure.
No.
But she moves all over the place, and then back and forth and back and forth.
I don't know how. I don't know how all of the flights and the moving that quite a few of the characters in this debacle do. How is it was hard enough for me to move 900 miles. I can't imagine doing it more than once.
Because Charles Vallow was picking up the bill, like,
Well,
and
that's true.
you could tell like he's the kind of guy that's like paying for like her like living situation just because she has his son and stuff. Like she's like moving from this, and then like he was living in that house that like ultimately he ended up being shot in. He was, and then he moved. He like leaves it so that she can be in it. And
That's a
goes away.
different house. They just moved
Yeah,
into
that was
that
a different house. That was a
Different house,
yeah, they had
different
just
move.
moved in.
Oh, well,
So
Another
many
move.
moves.
but he's putting the bill for all of it, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely, because they're separated, but they're not divorced.
And poor Charles, I mean, he straight up tells police, you know, my wife is calling me a zombie. My wife is not going to take care of our kids. My wife, you know, and they're just like, oh, whatever.
Oh,
And
it's
it's crazy to watch back.
That was hard to watch too.
and how her whole family just acted like, oh, you're a cheater and you're lying, and he's trying to warn everyone and he's trying to communicate, and I just don't understand how she keeps everyone under this spell, to just not believe a word that he had to say.
How do you guys feel about the supposed? That's kind of where about his supposed abuse. I just don't see him in that way. But when they said what's the girl's name again? She came out with the bat, and that's when the brother
Tylee did.
Yeah. Did
He
that
told her that she would go to prison if she hit him with it, but he didn't hit her.
He didn't hit her, right?
I think he seems like actually a decent man, just like based on what I've seen. And think about it, just the fact him taking JJ and wanting to give him a better life in general. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like Charles, we don't get to see Charles's evolution of how he got to where he was, because he was married before. He has, I don't remember how many kids he has. Which one of you guys knows that? I think 3, 2, 3. He has quite a few children of his own.
His older
I can't remember.
He has older children. They're older now. Anyway,
He has 2 children from his marriage to Cheryl Wheeler. That's his ex-wife. And it's important to note that we've talked about the Woodcocks. So for anybody that doesn't know, JJ is the biological grandson of Charles's sister, Kay Woodcock, who was married to Larry Woodcock. So he adopted his sister's grandson, who had
his great nephew.
Was that JJ's mom sitting behind Kay in court this time? She looks like Kay. I don't know either, but if you go look, she kind of favors her. So I wonder if that could be her daughter. I meant, and JJ's mom.
So that was,
I don't know.
This was actually something that kind of came up in my mind, because I thought it was Kay's daughter that gave birth to JJ, but then the documentary actually says it was Kay's son.
Oh.
And I was like, I guess I never dug into that rabbit hole too much. It really didn't mean anything to me. So
yeah, me neither. I thought it was a daughter too.
Yeah, I remember the bio mom like coming into Facebook groups and like losing her shit and being like super pissed off at people for talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Kay's son, and then the lady was JJ's mom.
Okay.
But they weren't in any way, shape, or form able to take care of a child. And then Kay said that, Kay and Larry said they were just too old to have a baby again, so they thought about Lori and Charles.
It was Kay's son. Okay, well that lady, she does look like she could be her daughter. You guys, when you see what I'm saying.
I'll have to pull that up and look.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So okay.
Oh,
so then
another
we get to,
thing.
Go ahead.
Just real quick, you guys were talking about like Lori convinced everyone that Charles was so bad. The one person I think she didn't convince though was Adam.
Adam. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then his son, right? Because I'd have
And Adam was living in Kansas.
He was going to him. He was telling him things about Lori. He was almost, I guess, confiding in him in a sense.
I feel like Adam is just so uncomfortable by Lori in general. Like, and there was a Alex's first wife or something had come forward to talk about how like the interactions between Lori and Alex, even when like she was in the picture, which had been long before, and their marriage was short, but that it was so inappropriate and uncomfortable, like how they interacted with each other even back then.
Hmm. I have that. I've listened to the interview with his ex, yeah, explaining how inappropriate their relationship was, and I
Mhm.
believe it.
I do too.
Believe it.
Yeah. What's the next slide?
Oh, wait, I want to go through the rest of the husbands. So we're at Charles now. So how long into her marriage to Charles does Joe die, or does he die beforehand?
Joseph?
Yeah.
Joseph dies in 2018, and she married Charles in 2006.
Okay. Okay. So then most everything happened. So Joe was one of them that people talked about. Like, did she actually do something to him? But I think they ended up coming out and confirming that he died of natural causes. And you
A
can't
heart
see my
attack.
quotation marks, but
Now,
yeah.
her brother did make an attempt on his life in 2007 that he went to prison for 90 days for. Um, and then he did a awkward stand-up comedy routine about it.
Yes. Yes.
You know that time I tased my former brother-in-law and was gonna murder him?
Yeah, you
Good
know,
times,
when you
right?
think
Good times.
committing a, what do you say? Like when you think committing a felony is the right thing to, or when you think you're doing the right thing, but it ends up being a felony. Like the laughing in the audience is so awkward.
I would have been
Oh my
laughing. I
God,
love awkward shit.
so
That is my
cringy.
entire life.
Analytics, a big thing on her channel is her trying to prove that she thinks that Joe was
Yes.
murdered,
Mhm.
and she goes through the crime scene photos because he was not found for a long time, like several weeks, right? I don't know, 5 weeks, or I can't
Something like
remember.
that.
It's been so long.
Sad.
But yeah, so I mean, it's up in the air to some people, but yeah, it was officially natural causes.
Dee Roberts, I wouldn't take it that far, but definitely inappropriate, I think, was like the gist of
Yeah.
that description of their relationship. But I wouldn't be the one to say that no.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he thought he got time and he thought he was going to get a handshake in a parade. Weird guy. That guy's weird
Well,
too. Okay, so now she's married to Charles. Everything seems to be hunky dory, and they move to Hawaii with Colby and Tylee. And is JJ with them yet when they moved to Hawaii?
Well, they adopted him when he was a baby, so
they moved to in 2014 is when they moved to Kauai in Hawaii. Um,
That must have been right when they got him, or right before.
right around then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because this is when the first weird stuff really starts to kind of get talked about. Is the neighbor that was friends with Lori when they were in Hawaii.
Oh yeah, the neighbor.
So she basically says that she thought that they were like, a happy couple and everything was, great and whatnot. And that Lori is basically complaining to her the whole time about like what a terrible husband Charles is and how, Charles is, trying to make Lori happy, but just seems like he never can.
Can you
Wait,
imagine
so
you're living in Hawaii on your husband's dime who's taking care of you and putting up with your abuse, and it's not good enough for you?
It's just not good enough. This is.
I feel like that was the setup, though. She's very cunning, and she starts with her exit strategy early on. She plants those seeds about abuse, about manipulation, and so that by the time those few years pass, people were convinced that Charles was the problem in her family.
Yep. The narrative was
So-
set, the scenario was set, and here it is.
Yeah. So the neighbor was in the documentary, the neighbor from Hawaii, the lady, right? Is that what you said?
Yes, she was
she?
interviewed.
Okay. Okay.
Psych
I've
ward's
seen
in
her
the
interviewed
house.
somewhere.
Dr. B.
Hey.
Okay, so yeah, so they move there. So that's the first person who starts to get like an inkling that something's kind of off. But then they move back and they move they either move back to Arizona, or is that when they moved to Texas? Either way, this is when things really start to kind of go, like, get really crumbly. And
there's a lot of moving.
There's a lot of moving. There's a lot of separating and back together, and separating and back together.
Mhm.
And then we get to where Lori is living in Arizona, and Charles is living in Texas, or was in Texas. He's not living there.
Yes.
He was actually on business in Texas, and he comes back. And this is when the body cam stuff happens. So there's a lot that kind of leads up to that, because this is when he's started getting these weird things happening with the emails, and that she's, involved in this, stuff with this guy, this book and whatnot. And that's where Chad kind of comes into play.
And she's also sending emails as Charles as well.
So she sends the email as Charles to Chad, so that Chad can come and visit, so that Chad's wife doesn't think that he's going to see some chick, that he's going to see some guy named Charles, and they have like this business thing that they're going to be doing.
Yes. And they would refer to each other as James and Elena in their texts when they would have romantic talk. They would refer to a James and Elena, but it was Chad and Lori. They were all about talking in code.
Okay, so were Charles and Lori actually split up yet when he goes to the house, and he's caught on the body cam, and he's looking for the kids, but she's not actually there, but she knew he was coming back from Texas, and she had Alex go and take his truck from the airport?
They were separated, I believe, but he was asking her, to work on things. He filed for divorce, and then he withdrew. And what was the date? He files to dismiss his divorce proceedings in March 1st of 2019. Takes JJ out of school and moves back to Texas again. So that was somewhere in March of 2019. So they were in some kind of weird limbo.
Okay, so then he's going back out there so he can pick up the kids. He calls the cops because he can't find the kids. Tells the cop, like, I don't know what's wrong with her. And unfortunately for Charles, he sounds kind of crazy, because he's like, yeah, she's losing her mind, and she's thinks I'm Ned, because she was calling him Ned because the zombie had taken over, and the zombie's name was Ned.
Mm-hmm. See, I feel like he sounded just exhausted.
He did, but because we know now, but I think at the time,
true.
the cop was probably like, what the F are you talking about? Like, what kind of drugs are you guys smoking? No wonder your wife left with the kids. You know what I'm saying?
How do you explain something like that without sounding crazy? I feel crazy talking about this because there's so many elements to it, and then we haven't even reached the religious cult aspect yet. I mean, it's crazy already.
How do you explain your truth when your truth is your wife ex-wife is telling you that there's zombies and all this crazy is happening? And I actually kind of feel for him, because you do see him. He is trying. He's trying, and how do you make sense out of that? That is his truth.
Oh, that's right. I do remember. So we're not going to take it. Says, I remember seeing something or hearing something about where Lori says she stopped the divorce because she needed to get her finances in order. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't want the divorce to go through because she wasn't working. She didn't have a job.
No, and she needed Charles. And she took like $35,000 from him at one point. It was earlier in 2019.
Okay, so he goes there trying to get the kids. She's not there. The cops bust in. They think that, like, there's just some marital dispute, but they don't really know what to do. So they don't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the house they actually lived in together. So he ends up staying there, but then meets her at the school the next day where she's dropping off JJ, and then things get really messy. And then she ends up going to the police department and filing on him. but he had already filed, and you guys are gonna have to tell me what this actually, what forms he actually filed. But basically, she was like mandated to have a psych eval.
Yeah, he went and filed to enforce the custody arrangement for visitation, because she was withholding the kids from him. So he went, and I don't know the laws in that state. For I know where I'm from, that's not something that's easy to do. Um, but yes, he filed for her to have a mandatory psych eval.
And so she goes in and she's telling them that she's now caught him cheating, and that she took his car, which I don't understand how she could take his car and why the cops don't actually say anything about that. But that's a whole nother story.
His car and all of his stuff.
They literally say like she took everything of his down to his underwear.
Mm-hmm.
But she's trying to say that he was cheating on her, and she has proof of it. So that's why she took all of his things, because he deserves it basically. And then she's like, yeah, and then you could see like in the body cam there, like she's like, yeah, so he's like a little bit mad.
Oh, she is very charming to those detectives. Very
I'm
charming.
like, she just admitted to the Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
Like legit. Like, what are you doing? And they're like, so, if he brings your purse back, like everything's gonna be okay.
Right.
Yep. And they're just flirting with her, going, well, if you just want a free psych eval, then just go get it over with, because you're fine.
I wonder how far she would have gotten if she looked like Big Bertha.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I think her looks carried her a lot of the time in her life. I really do.
Yeah.
Because you could tell she uses that. Even in court, she's like smiling. And just think back to all of her appearances with her makeup and her, I don't know. She just, yeah.
When she started using that jail makeup, it was a little horrendous. I'm not going to lie to you.
Meanwhile, Letitia won't go to court because she didn't hygiene that day. We should bunk them together.
Oh my God.
They can do each other's makeup. So she moves actually. So she moves out of that house and moves into another house, and that's where everything kind of gets the crazy, where Charles is coming to pick up the kids, and he takes JJ and puts him in the truck and forgets his phone and goes back in. And then this fight supposedly ensues. And this has always been very confusing to me. Even after all the documents came out, when I looked through everything, it was still very confusing to me on how so Lori, JJ, and Tylee actually leave for this fight to occur. And that's all. Did they leave before Charles ever showed up? Because then if that's the case, Tylee wouldn't have been there to hold a bat.
Yep.
So there's this weird thing where he says like that, Tylee went and so Charles was trying to attack Alex. Tylee had gotten this bat. Charles takes this bat from Tylee and hits Alex in the back of the head and splits his head open. Then supposedly everybody bounces, as in Lori, JJ, and Tylee. Alex goes to his room where he's now spending the night there because, she's so afraid of Charles, and gets his gun and comes out. They proceed to fight. Alex, or Charles, supposedly is going to swing this bat at him again, and Alex shoots him multiple times.
Wait, you're getting ahead of yourself. Next slide.
No, we're not to him yet.
Steve wants this next slide.
Okay, I'll go to the next slide. You don't have to yell at me, man.
I want to see the slides.
The next one's about Chad, so she was
That's
just
why I said I wasn't going there yet.
Charles.
Oh. Darn it.
Oh, you know what I should do is go to this one.
Oh,
look at that.
Oh, there you go. This one. There you go. There's your death web. Literally, Lori Vallow, Daybell's death web.
Wow.
Yikes.
Sister Stacy Cox. 1998.
And that one says cause unknown.
That's what's been disputed. When Summer put out her statement, it was quickly screenshot, but she took it down. She wrote this memorial Facebook post and was telling everybody to stop speculating about her sister's death and not to gossip, and I do understand that, but when you dig, and then on Reddit, I was a Redditor too. On Reddit and some of the other forums, there was a lot of talk about Stacy's husband and the interaction with the family, and Stacy's husband was Catholic, and there was this division in the family. So I ooh, like I said, that's a whole other intense rabbit hole that you could go down forever, and it seemed more suspicious than not when she
I think it's
passed
so
away.
weird when like Christians like side eye Catholics that are side eyeing, Mormons. Like y'all know, I mean, you're all in this big stew of weird. Like calm down.
Yeah.
Like everybody believe what you want, but it's basically the same thing here.
But to the LDS, that one of the posts that I remember reading was about Stacy having a cross on her stone. And from what I understand in the LDS church, they don't focus on the cross at all. They focus on the resurrection, whereas, Catholics have crucifix and they use the cross as symbolism. So that was kind of they believe that her husband did that, which is kind of messed up. It's a memorial stone, as an elbow to her family by putting that on her stone.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, every religion has radicals. I absolutely
Yes,
agree.
absolutely.
Okay, so you want to go? Where do you want me to go here, Missy?
Well, we could talk about Daddy Chad now, Mr. Number 5. So that would be back to the third one. So while Lori was married 5 times, Chad was married for a long time to Tammy. They got married in 1990 in Utah. They had a book company where they published many of his books, about his I don't know how to say this the right way, because they claimed that they were LDS, but a lot of members of the LDS church don't no longer want to claim him because he went off into his own branch, and this is where the cult or extremist aspect comes into play, because Chad was depicting himself like he was a prophet all on his own. So he wrote many books, and Lori starts reading his books around 2017 and becomes enamored with him. And they go on to meet at a conference where many LDS members go, and he was a presenter there. And that was in 2018 that she met him at the conference.
She must have not read very many books.
I know.
Just saying. I mean, like, what bookstore were you at? 'Cause
Well, I think that this is what she had been wanting, because if you go back to what she says, even after she was divorcing Joseph, she's talking about this is what she's looking for. And so, and I think, I don't know if they mention it in the documentary or not, but they talk about like how she didn't think that Charles was like her spiritual equal.
Hmm.
That she thought at the beginning he was, but he ended up not being.
She wanted a spiritual dynamo.
so again, and then she picked Chad. Like,
Yeah. Hi, Lynn.
slim
Okay.
pickings.
So he's writing all these books, and then he has this near-death experience. Well, he says he has 2 of them, but the first one is what allows him to like see all these things, where he can now tell that people have had multiple lives and who they've been married to, and I think the documentary refers it like he can now see beyond the veil.
Hmm.
So he thinks that he is like a prophet, and he is being spoken to, and he has all this information that's factual, and he believes that the world is in the end of times, and that the world is going to end on July 22nd.
Yep.
Yeah, July 22nd, 2020.
So he's like I said, he's a doomsday prepper, and that is something that he was telling his followers and on this podcast to be prepared for the end of times, and the end was coming in 2020. And he was prophesizing that the New Jerusalem was going to take place in Idaho, which is, I'm sorry to any Mormons, but if I get this wrong, but as I understand, they believe that 144,000 people will. And it's supposed to be brought about by Jesus Christ himself, but Chad put himself in that position, and he was going to reign over the New Jerusalem and these 144,000 people, and he was looking to gather and recruit these people. So he was an um, extremist branch of the Mormon faith, and
Nice.
Lori felt the same way. So
And
there
then
was
they had
something
been
about
married. They had been married, what, 100 times in their past lives or something?
yes.
So they always ended up together in every life they were ever in.
Hmm.
So these are Tammy and Chad's children who did an interview, and I don't remember if this was like a 2020 or a Dateline or whatnot, like a year or so ago.
Hmm. And
Oh
they
my
believe
God,
that
that
he,
interview.
yeah.
It's a good interview.
Yeah, but their stance is just frustrating. It's very. They're like, he's too smart. He would never put a body that close to the house, and
He used to be a
also,
grave digger. He wouldn't dig a
yeah,
grave that shallow.
yeah, he knows how to do it right. He would dig it. He wouldn't dig a 3 foot deep grave. He would dig a 6 or whatever. It's
My
just.
favorite part of this is when they're like, my dad was like a cult leader. Like he would have recruited us. Like we would have all been in a cult. And I was like, you guys are in a cult. Like that's
You just
literally
don't know.
what you're in. Like he did recruit you. You just didn't know it because you never knew anything other than that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
My big thing is when he's doing all of this, what does Tammy think? Like, does Tammy believe that he's because
She was just doing a great job wifing and keeping
I
her
was gonna
husband in line
say,
for so
yeah.
many years.
She
but we
was.
don't really know. Like, did she believe this stuff with him? Like, was she like, yep, this is what's gonna happen?
I don't think so. I think she just kept him in check. And Lori didn't.
I do know that he
Big
told her
power.
that she was gonna die. Like he had saw that she was gonna die. That her grandma came to him and said that she was gonna pass away early. So I don't know. Like if I don't think that she knew like details of like all of it though.
It's just nuts to me. Literally, it's so hard to tell the story because there is every single thing that you see here. You could go down a totally different rabbit hole with.
Hmm.
So if you are somebody who isn't familiar with the case and you like rabbit holes, like this is definitely a very, very big one. And you could go down with any one of these people because they've talked about like were any of the kids involved, and I believe most specifically Emma
Hmm.
was really talked about, especially at the beginning. Like what did she know and what didn't she know?
It kind of, I feel similar to how I do with Morpheo with his daughters. They lost their mom and now they're protecting their dad. And I just think they're so wrapped up in it, and almost like they want to believe or they need to believe that he didn't do any of this and that he is the person that he's claimed all along in their lives.
But there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
One of them has to be like, come on, you guys.
And might be, but is too scared to speak up.
I
mean,
bet
I
they
would be
probably
scared.
are.
I would be
Yeah.
terrified.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
we're not going to take it. Says when the
secretly.
kids were buried in his backyard, Tammy was out of town because her late grandmother had come to Chad and told Chad that Tammy needed to go see her family.
Yep, that's true. I remember that. It's crazy.
That's what I'm telling you. Like, you could literally go down any rabbit hole. These people are there's just so much to it. Okay, so am I going to another slide yet, or are we staying here on Chad? Are we talking about him still?
Next slide.
Does Julie make it into the slides? Does Julie Rowe make it in?
Julie is in Allie's slide, and I figure that's where we can
Okay, let's go
start
here.
going off.
Okay, Allie, this is Allie's masterpiece right here.
Mm-hmm.
She put this together so that because there's so many people involved in this whole thing, Allie, tell them about this.
Okay, so yeah, whenever this was like maybe about a year and a half ago or around that long, and there's so many people, and I was trying to cover the case, but people that had never heard of it before couldn't follow it, and that's mainly what people would tell me, like they can't remember all the people, and so I created this.
Holly,
So
you
it.
even have a legend. I dig it.
I put the people in squares. I even used a daggone ruler to draw those boxes.
This
So
is
they
like
were
pure perfection, FYI.
Yeah.
And then their connection is in this little circle, and then the legend. So the members of their little end times cult have the M, and then you see co-conspirators, and then the deceased people have the red D. So yeah.
Okay, so we got Lori in the middle, and she's married to all of these people over here. All of them, right? And then you've got her brothers and her sisters. Then you got her niece. So her niece is Melanie. So Melanie is the niece that we were talking about earlier that Stacy, her mom, passed away. Melanie is married a couple of times, so it's hard to keep track of the Melanies because their names change often. So Melanie,
And
go ahead.
I didn't put Stacy in here. I didn't put anybody who was not directly involved with the case. These are just people that you're going to hear when you're talking about the case and like what happened at that time. So
no, it's beautiful. You did a great job.
Thank you.
So you got Melanie down here who's married twice, and her husband comes into play during this whole thing. Her first husband, well, her second husband too, but is he married? He was married to Natalie before he was married to Melanie.
Right.
Okay.
He has kids with Natalie and Melanie. See, Melanie was married to Brandon and married to Ian. Ian had also been married to Natalie before, but so he had kids with Natalie, and she was concerned about her kids being around Melanie. And that brought up that's another rabbit hole right there, because they had custody. I mean, they had court, they spoke about it publicly. Yeah, so.
Okay,
that's
so
why
you've
Natalie's
got,
on there.
Well, that makes sense. So you got Lori over here, so you got Colby up there, who's her son. You've got okay, so here's Chad, and then he's married to Tammy, who's deceased. They have a friend named Julie Rowe who's watching all of this happen, and Julie Rowe does make an appearance in the documentary. So she's also an author and has her own podcast, or had her own podcast. I don't know if she still does. I haven't kept up with that, but she used to have her own podcast, and she does also believe in that she can see through this veil, but she's on the light side, and she thinks that Chad's on the dark side. So she's an interesting one as well. I'm glad that she's on the light side, but and then you've got the daughter that's Tylee. You've got Charles, JJ, and then so JJ was adopted. Okay, so that's his family over there. This is beautifully done.
Thank you.
So then you have over here, you have Mr. Alex Cox, who ends up getting married to Zulema. I don't know how to say her name. Zulema?
Yeah, Zulema.
Zulema. So so they end up getting married, which we'll talk about that in a bit too. Okay. All right. So if you guys need to take a screenshot of that, because Christine will make me change slides, and then it'll be gone forever.
And then the son is on there because, of course, he found Alex, and
which he refers to him. So for anybody who doesn't know, Alex is actually passed away too. You'll get to him in the timeline, but the Zulema's son, when he calls 911, they ask him, like, do you know this guy? And he's like, no, it's my mom's boyfriend. He says, no, I don't know him. It's my mom's boyfriend.
I felt so bad for him in that call, because he's just like, oh my God, I did not be dealing with this right now. Do not want to be dealing with this crap. Like, Mom, what the hell? Basically,
right.
He just feels so, you can just feel the uncomfortableness and the awfulness.
Hey, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie. Okay, so somebody asked if they've revealed Tammy's cause of death. So officially, no, they have not revealed her cause of death. But in that Dateline 2020 with the 5 children, they actually talk about her cause of death. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
I
And
thought I had heard something about it. Yeah.
They
But
said
it-
something like they were told it was asphyxiation, but
Yeah.
that was it.
So
But
when Tammy passed away, we got to back up a second because so we're now like in what, September of 2019? 2019? Am I right on the date? Year?
is that where we are?
I don't know.
Did we get to
Yes, I think
September?
so.
Yeah. Let's say we're at September. That's a good place.
Wait, let me
to
see. Because were they found in 2020? I feel like
Yes.
they were found.
They were found in 2020.
Yeah, so we're in like September of 2019. And so Charles has passed away in July, and in September, there's when we learn later on, which we don't know at the time, is when everything happens with JJ and Tylee. And when does Tammy pass away?
October.
So Tammy passes away in October. They just bury her with no autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
They said natural causes, and that was it.
Yeah, but she was a healthy, like, how old was she? Like 49? Hi, Peyton. True colors. Well, I appreciate that. I don't know why anybody likes it so much.
Who, you?
I think that's pretty much the general consensus.
Oh, I
Tammy she was just about to do like a triathlon or something, right? Like some kind of marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was very healthy. Is Osane in here? I didn't see him.
I have one little thing. Melanie Gibb is married to David Warwick now. They're married.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just boyfriend.
Yeah, so Melanie, yeah, this is her
Yeah,
her reference list. But yeah, so now Melanie is married to David. But in the preliminary stuff, they weren't married yet.
I just want to
sleeping in the same bedroom. It's fine.
If we're in September, so September is where things really kick up and the kids go missing.
Well, I guess we should talk about the move because she leaves Arizona.
She
leaves Colby.
She leaves Arizona September 5th, 2019. She writes an email to JJ's school to unenroll him and says, since the circumstances in our lives have changed drastically since my husband passed away last month, I have been offered a job out of state and have decided to accept it. We have had to move quickly since the job started, ASAP. So I'm sad to inform you that Joshua won't be returning this year. And then an interesting note, thank you, Stephanie, for this one. We had this chat. Lori would log into JJ's school classroom account monitoring app every time something happened. So she could see what people were saying and if they were talking about her or anything that was going on. And she logged in 5 times between November and February, which I think is interesting.
This is pre-COVID, so that wasn't really just going to fly right easily, was it?
No.
Well, that is interesting.
The other thing with
go ahead.
I was just going to say that in January of 2019, so where I said that she was plotting and everything was a setup, and in my opinion, she was planning this, she stopped filling JJ's autism medication, his risperidone.
So, in what month did she stop filling it?
In January of 2019. So if you remember her talking about his behavior changes, becoming a zombie and being hyperactive and jumping and saying things that she was claiming, this was an important medication for him to be on.
And his dog.
Yep.
She gave his dog back. He had a, what are they called?
A service dog.
Service dog, yeah, that really helped him a lot. It helped him like throughout his whole day, and it was trained just specifically for him.
Yeah.
So about the service dog, hold on, sorry, this is important. About the service dog, I actually spoke to my own self in my ear on my phone. Actually spoke to the trainer of the service dog, and he told me about that whole situation about giving the dog.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was weird, and that that she was like. So like, what's the word? Like distant, like from the whole situation. And they were like trying to work with her. Like, well, this dog specifically trained for JJ? Is there like something that we could do? Like it takes a lot of money to like train a service dog like that.
Mhm.
And she was just like, just take it back. Like just go. Like she didn't, she barely wanted anything to do with it. She like yanked it out of the car, I think he said. Like didn't even like nobody like stood around saying goodbye to the dog. It was just weird.
I mean, just talk about what she put this little boy through. Just
Poor baby.
medically, emotionally, mentally, all the way around, you know, setting up, again, in my opinion, for what was to come. I mean, and that's where we go to, you know, in September, where things really start to unravel.
Well, I want to back up for just a second because there was a big thing that I forgot that I wanted to talk about, and it was when Charles passed away, how she told everybody a different story about Charles.
Yes. Yes.
There's so much in this that I'm bound to forget. So yeah, so can we talk about that? Because she does. She tells every single person a different story, including his children, who she texts, "Hey, by the way, your father's dead," and then she stops texting them.
The audacity. The audacity. It's cruel. It's just cruel. She texts his sons and says he died. Charles died, but doesn't say who, what, where, why, and how, and then leaves them hanging, just disappears.
And she doesn't even do it immediately, does she? She does it like a while after, or I feel like she didn't do it immediately.
I think she texted them right. She calls Colby and tells him that Charles came to pick up JJ and had a heart attack, and then she tells she tells the school that he committed suicide, and then she tells the sons. I don't remember what she tells the sons. I think she told them that they just needed to wait because the medical examiner didn't know yet. Colby goes over to the house and finds out that he was actually shot. I don't know. She tells everybody something different.
Yeah, and about the dog, like, so the people that gave JJ the dog like spent time like with the family and stuff, like acclimating JJ to like the services that the dog, you know, provided and stuff.
Yeah.
And so the guy was like really knew Charles, and like when Lori called or whatever, she was just so cold about it. Like there was just like nothing there, and it was really awkward for the guy.
Wait, so in this documentary, does Colby talk about Charles? Does he, like, in a good positive way? Because that's how he always came across to me, was like, not to change his, well, we're not changing the subject, but we're going back and forth. But
yeah, sorry, that was my fault because I forgot I wanted to talk about that, and then I got ahead of myself when we jumped to September.
That's okay.
He does. He talks about him. It's kind of sad because so he says, you know, that Lori had told him that Charles was cheating. And then Charles is like sending these emails basically to everybody in the family, like, hey, like something's wrong with Lori. Like everybody needs to like get her help. And Colby thinks that it's because, you know, he's basically caught cheating. And so he's trying to like, you know, put it back on Lori, even though he's the one who did something wrong because he believes his mom. And so he starts ignoring Charles. And then, of course, ultimately he finds out that, you know, nothing that he was told was true. Like this guy's lived this entire life forever, not knowing it. But by the end, he's talking about like, you know, how much he loved him and how Charles was his father, was the only father that he actually, you know, considered his father, because even though like Joseph Ryan had adopted him, you know, that was very traumatic. And his actual father was never around, that he considered Charles his father. And I'm sure he lives with so much regret on not ever, you know, believing anything he said. It's crazy because if people had actually listened to Charles, things would be so much different. But you know, when we were talking about that, she had to do that psych test. She went and took it, but she passed. So the family totally thought that Charles was making everything up, because if she was crazy, she wouldn't have passed it, right?
Unless you're a sociopath.
Yeah. Those psych evals should probably pay more attention to some disorders, but I don't know. So I think that he probably lives. It seemed to me from the way he was speaking that he lives with a lot of regret from how things happened with Charles and how things ended, because he just didn't believe him and he thought that he was, some mean guy who cheated on his mom.
And I'm sure he appeared. We kind of talked about this earlier. He probably did appear to be a madman, sending all these emails and contacting all the family members, and he's really reaching out for help and understanding. She's getting ahead of it by going to everyone first and saying, "Oh, he's a scoundrel and a cheater and he's abusive." And so they've already got this narrative in their head, and then he does look crazy and like he's twisting
But
things
you know
around.
what? That's what narcissists do. They like gaslight you, and
Absolutely.
because my oldest dad, he was like my whole, like, he would have everyone convinced that he was like this really nice, awesome person, and I was the one acting crazy. And really, I don't know, they have a good way at convincing people that they're.
Well, Charles had like major like intuition about like even that last meeting. Like he was like, something like he had called Adam to come to like do an intervention with Lori or whatever. And he just had like bad vibes about the whole entire thing. And like
I think that's what did him in.
Calling Adam.
Yeah, getting that intervention and the contacting Chad and his wife, and I think that he upped his zombie status even more. His demon number went way up once he started calling out their behavior.
The scale of light to dark, I mean, is that not the most insane thing? How are you dating someone and they give you a chart of your family, like, and how light to dark they are? What about his family? How come
the fact that
I've
he'd
always thought
never
that.
met them? He'd never met these people, and he
Oh
was
my
rating
God.
them on this scale.
Oh, it's always, and then I'm like, Chad's kids are alive, none of his family was dark.
I don't like scary movies, so I would have been gone at the first zombie mention, so I don't know.
Okay, so we can go back to September now. So I'm so sorry I threw us totally off the timeline by going back. So we can go back to September.
It's kind of how this timeline works, though. I mean, we're jumping all over, but that's how it happened. And we're looking at things now more in order than as they came out, because we found out things retroactively. And, so that's why I like timelines, and sometimes you got to jump.
Yeah.
To tie things together.
Yeah, tying up loose ends.
Okay, so September is when I know that Colby started to think something was wrong, because Tylee's birthday's in September. And he had messaged her for her birthday and wasn't getting responses the way he thought that Tylee would normally respond to him. And he was really pushing to like talk to her on the phone, and was basically telling her like, "Hey, this doesn't sound like you. Like, just call me."
Well, Lori had claimed that she was enrolled at Brigham Young, I believe. It was BYU. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she wasn't. And so she kept telling him, "Oh, she's busy with classes and she'll call you when she calls you." And he just kept saying, "Just pick up the phone, just pick up the phone." And that's a big old box of red flags right there. When somebody cuts off communication with you, once you say, "I have to talk to you on the phone, stop messaging." And then he didn't hear from her again. But as we know, which we're getting ready to get into, she was last seen on September 9th. So she disappeared. What we know now, she was missing before JJ.
Right, but nobody had actually reported her missing. It was JJ who ends up getting reported missing, but still not yet. So we go into October. We got Tam. Is there something else in September before we have to go back to it?
Sorry, you guys.
I don't believe so. We're gonna touch back on September once we figure out what the dates are later on in the investigation.
Am I moving on with slides yet?
So, yeah, you can move on.
Okay.
Christine is so excited. Slide
This one?
party.
Which one do we want?
6.
6. Okay.
And sorry, I did not mean to cough right in the. I thought I was muted. And I hit my vape and it choked me, so I'm sorry.
Hey. So the reason that November is before September is because this is what we know touched off the investigation. As the Woodcocks had not heard from JJ, and so they filed for a welfare check on him. And that was November 26, 2019, when the Rexburg Police Department conducted a welfare check. And that is when all of the lying just ramped up, and Chad wasn't saying that he was married to Lori, and Lori was claiming that JJ was with Melanie Gibb in Arizona. And then on the documentary, on Netflix, they show the recorded call of Melanie saying, "Why did you tell police that JJ was with me?" And she asks if he's safe, and Lori's go, "Oh yeah, of course he's safe." Um, so this is where it really all begins in the public eye.
Yeah.
With police
Oh
getting
my God.
involved.
Okay, so do we get to talk about how she ended up finding out to call Rexburg? Do we talk about that yet, or is that later on?
We did not talk about that yet.
No, but I mean, like, is that later in the slides? Like, am I going to be
No, I
jumping in?
actually don't. I don't have that on there about. Are you talking about the Amazon order?
Yeah, so because she actually calls Gilbert Police Department first because she thinks that JJ and Lori still live in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So she calls them first, but then she finds, and this is like, talk about like some sleuthing. This is how I feel about Kay, because she starts digging into stuff.
Invite her to the channel.
You know, she really should. Like,
she's a true crimer.
She is a true crimer. So she starts digging into Charles's stuff. And see, I'm going to go backwards again because there's another really big thing that I totally missed, and I'm upset with myself.
Was his life insurance? Or?
Yes. Yes, Allie. Okay, so hold on. So let me finish this first. So she starts digging into his Amazon account, and she finds that there's purchases on the Amazon account after Charles died. And it's this ring that Lori has basically ordered for herself, and she has the address is in Rexburg, Idaho. And that's how she ends up calling the Rexburg Police Department, because she didn't even know they had moved because Lori wasn't returning her calls. And she had last FaceTimed with JJ in August.
That is good sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm like, she's actually pretty good at this. So yeah, so Lori had bought this ring, which the ring will come into play here soon too. But this woman. So when Charles passed away, I think it was like a day or two later, she is calling, trying to cash in on his life insurance policy, which is $1 million. He has $1 million life insurance policy. And they're like, "Well, do you know who the beneficiary is?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's me." And they end up telling her, "No, it's not you." He actually changed it, and he changed it to his sister, Kay Woodcock. But they don't tell her that. But then she starts guessing. But like, they're like, "Yeah, it's not you anymore." But you know, good luck. Good luck.
So, but you brought up the ring. I mean, that was Lori buys this ring on Charles's account 17 days before Tammy dies. And she had actually attempted to buy a ring on Etsy before that. But they couldn't fulfill the order. They didn't have what she wanted or something. So she winds up buying it on Amazon under his
Imagine
account.
being so nefarious that you're going to buy your next husband's wedding ring on your deceased husband's account, and you end up picking a $17.99 Amazonite ring on Amazon. Like,
Stephanie said in May she tried to buy the ring on Etsy, and then wound up buying it on Amazon in October.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that far back.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even create your own Amazon account. I mean, come on.
Well, he probably had Prime.
It was a cheap ring.
No.
It wasn't even like,
Right? Like,
Yeah, it was like $35.99 or something for the Amazon ring.
Now, let me ask y'all, I got a question. Do you think, okay, because before you mentioned, we talked about the insurance. I was thinking to ask you guys this, but I'm wondering if that's why. But do you wonder why she didn't give JJ back or give JJ to Kay and Larry? Do you think that's because of the insurance, or do you think? Because I've always wondered that. They would have taken him if she just wanted the freedom, or did she? Was it about the money?
I think
Money.
I think it was. I think she really was wrapped up in her beliefs. I think that she was wrapped up in Chad and his vision and her vision, and I don't know that they necessarily believed that they were zombies, but it's almost, gosh, it's such a delicate subject. But when you talk about killing your children, um, she didn't want anybody else to have them.
Well,
'Cause she
wasn't
could have
she
done the same thing with Charles. She
collecting?
could have let him go.
She was collecting like benefits on behalf of JJ for a long
Yeah.
time too, wasn't
Yep.
she? Like it's like the
Yes.
money thing is.
She bragged that she would still be getting the $4,000 a month from Social Security
From Charles.
from Charles.
She's so sick. Okay. Am I moving? Am I going to the next one?
Yeah, because this
Okay.
will. So it starts in November with thanks to Kay, thanks to her putting it together and realizing that they had moved. The investigation begins, and we eventually find out what had taken place in September. So you can go to the next slide.
Okay, you want me to go to the next one after this one, or do you want me to stay
Yeah.
here? Okay,
Yeah,
next
you
one.
can go to the next one.
Okay,
Hey, Bonnie.
I'm gonna grab a drink. I'll be right back.
Oh wait, no, the one before that,
Oh shit. Okay. Good thing I didn't leave yet.
number
This one.
7. Yes.
Okay, the picture on the right here, I just have to forewarn you, this one breaks my heart.
Oh my gosh, it's too much.
I can't handle it.
It's too much. So Tylee was last seen alive on a trip to Yellowstone National Park with Alex, of course. He ties into pretty much every death and disappearance and suspicious death. So this photo is the last one of Tylee. In a later slide, I don't know if I should just talk about it now or wait till we get there, but so she goes missing September 8th. And JJ is last seen on September 22nd. There's actually a doorbell, a ring video that I remember watching that was, what was it, like somewhere between, somebody help me, between like the 14th and the 17th or something. They capture him playing outside of the condo or townhome, whatever you want to call it. But then this photo was found on Lori's iCloud account, and this is the last photo of him because he, from what we understand, was killed on at least on September 23rd. Melanie Gibb believes that when she saw Alex Cox holding JJ asleep in his arms, that he was actually deceased. She believes that now.
Oh, wow.
But when his body was found, he was wearing these pajamas.
This whole
So
situation with Melanie Gibb is like what makes me not believe her. And then
Yeah.
I forget what recently happened. Like maybe Melanie Gibb went back for like another, like she got interviewed again or something. But I swear to God, like I feel like the law enforcement is trying to like get Melanie and her husband on like charges of like tampering or something because she was there that night.
Well, I wouldn't
I've
be
had-
surprised if she'd cut a deal.
I had a theory back in the day she did, and I was looking at some of my old videos, and I remembered it because there was something said in court where Chad's lawyer was demanding for he was demanding for like something from the prosecution. And the way he worded it made it seem like it was a possibility. And I can't remember exactly what he said. I'd have to go back because I just caught like part of me saying that and it made me remember. But yeah, so I wonder if she made a deal and that's why she's testifying.
So if we explained who Melanie is, we can tell. So
She's
there's
on that
because we talk about
chart.
there's two different Melanies. There's Melanie that's the niece, and then there's the other Melanie, Melanie Gibb, who is the one that Lori was doing the podcast with.
Right.
So they were like buddies. And I don't know if they actually. Do we know if that's how she kind of got turned on to Chad?
Oh, I know the story of when they first met. Melanie was there when Chad and Lori first met. So I think Melanie knew Chad. Yeah, knew Chad first. I'm pretty sure because she told that story somewhere. Now Melanie was there the night that JJ was last seen. Which is so weird to me. Why would they choose to do it when the night they had company like that?
Yeah, they were doing their podcast, and that's why Alex took JJ away.
Yeah, but why not
And
do it
that's-
like, I don't know. It's just weird. If you're trying to not get in trouble and get caught, or that makes you think they have to know, or at least Melanie.
Okay, Steph said that Melanie Gibb did introduce them, and she did podcasts and stuff with Chad and Julie Rowe before that. Okay. Okay, so then during the wellness check, Lori tells the cops that JJ is actually with Melanie Gibb in Arizona. And while Chad is in the other apartment, because these condos, townhouses, Alex lived in one, and Lori lived in another. So Chad was at Alex's when the cops came a knocking, and tells them, Lori's over there, whatever. Lori says that, oh yeah, that's my brother Alex and his friend Chad. And it was just silly. So while she's telling the cops that JJ's with Melanie Gibb in Arizona, Chad is messaging Melanie and telling her, hey, the cops are going to call you. Don't answer the phone.
Yeah. I mean, for as much as she took care of her family, or I should say influenced her family, she was not very smart when it came to anything outside of the family, because a lot of this is sloppy. I mean, how pompous to not share, or to just assume that your son's grandparents aren't going to look for him, or that other family members aren't going to look or ask you, that they just thought that they could just do this, that they could just get rid of anybody in their way
Yeah.
and move from place to place if they needed to, and just smile all the way through it. And
Yep. All in
it was their
love.
purpose. Yep.
And there's
And
another
Melanie.
reason. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay, so this is another reason I don't believe Melanie, because like she didn't answer the phone like when the cops first called her, and then she like called and recorded the phone call like with Lori, like, why did you tell the cops that? Like that would be the friendship ender with me, Teresa. Sorry, like there's
Well,
not gonna
she
be
actually
further
didn't she lie
friendship.
to him?
Yeah.
Didn't she
Yep,
tell
Steph
cops
just said
first
it.
that she had him or something?
Mhm.
Like, yeah.
I think she was like really vague about it or something, or like I don't know what happened, but like that's the friendship ending. Like that's the blow on the camel's back for me. Okay, guys.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say vice versa as well.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
like,
I'm not going to lie about where your kids are.
So like
Yeah.
they either had something on Melanie, or like Melanie was way too involved in how to like get out slowly or something. Like,
why would you ever tell police that you had a baby that was missing, though? Come on, I can't believe she did that. Like, you trusted her that much or I don't know. I just
that makes me think that she's like part of it more, like because the friendship, like, the friendship continued. Why?
But it really doesn't. After that point is when things really get bad, because they basically tell her, like, whatever you're doing, like you're obviously bad, and they think that the boyfriend, now husband David, is a bad influence on her, and that he's causing her to. I mean, she's absolutely lucky that the kids were actually found and these guys were arrested, because she was on the list. She was probably. She was definitely like probably 4.5 dark at that point. They were pissed off. I mean, they knew she was recording. They were like, whatever you're doing, You know,
Yep.
this isn't whatever you got going. They're like, we love you. We love you.
Double lock your doors, Melanie.
Yeah, so
You
I
can
think
totally
she
feel
did. I think she probably did cut some form of deal or whatnot. I don't know. Maybe she just got some form of conscience. I don't know, but she definitely turned against them. And I think that she was, working with the cops to just try to figure out what the heck was actually going on. And I did forget, and one of the ladies in chat did say that when they knock on Alex's door, Alex is actually said, no, JJ's with his grandparents. And they were like, yeah, no, he's not with his grandparents. They're the ones who called for us to come find him.
Have you guys ever heard that recorded call of Melanie Gibb and that Facebook group person that recorded her talking about the kids and Lori and everything?
I don't think so. What
Oh.
tell me more.
I have a video about it, but she says, "Oh my God," calls JJ a drug baby. She says, she talks pretty nasty. I have a video about it, and pretty sure I play clips. I'll find it and
We'll have to
I'll send it to you. Yeah,
send it so we can link it because that's a good one to watch, and it's very
yeah. She's
eye-opening.
nasty in it. Oh my God. Mm.
I want to hear it.
Let me look for it while we're sitting here talking.
Right about this Melanie Gibb time is when I should say that I became a big fan of Nate Eaton.
Oh yeah.
And his reporting on the case.
Mhm.
Like we have a few favorite like reporters on different cases, like that girl. What's her name to you?
Well, I love Lauren Sharf, but she's not a reporter anymore, and I'm heartbroken. But that's another story.
Lauren but Nate,
I like Justin Lum. Justin Lum and Nate Eaton together on this story is amazing.
This is when they started shining here. Actually, there was also the Hawaii video, but still, Nate is like in it to win it with this family. Did he get like subpoenaed for the trial?
He was on the witness list, but they never served him with anything. They did it
go in front
basically
of a
so that
grand
he
jury?
couldn't go to the hearing.
Oh.
So, because if you're a witness, you can't be in there when other people are testifying. But they never actually served him with a subpoena. I remember that, yeah. And then they played that whole recorded call with Melanie Gibb and Lori and Chad, and that was pretty damning. But okay, so am I moving? Let me move to the next one. Am I moving?
Sure.
Yet?
We can do one or two things. We can keep this goes forward with the timeline as is.
Okay.
But I have a slide that talks about Alex's cell and his movements on those days in September. So I don't know if you want to do that one while we're talking about September or just do it when we get there. It's this one.
We can do it when we get there, I guess. We can go back.
Okay.
We'll go back. Okay. Let me go. We'll go to here.
Okay.
Man, we're gonna have to do a part 2.
I know. There's so much.
So much.
This is just the overview.
This does not include all the rabbit holes.
Exactly. It's not all the rabbit holes. It's not all the court stuff. It's like just the basics. It's crazy.
I found it.
So
found it. I'll send it to you. And if you want me to, I'll play a little clip of it where she said the drug baby comment. I found that.
Yeah. Pull it. Why don't you just pull it up and share it?
Yes, Sally, share it.
Okay, I can do that. I forgot. I'm on my computer too. Because I have it like timestamped on my phone right now. So
Crazy Mama says she fell asleep listening to true crime and had bad dream that somebody stabbed her.
Oh, been there.
Yeah, girl, you got to listen to Chad Daybell on his podcast.
Oh no. I can't listen to his voice. Ooh.
Dude, Missy, you did a great job on these slides. I want to tell you that.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Look, it was really hard to not without just talking about Chad. Whenever I see him with the way his shirts and his pants are and he talks, I get such murderous Hank Hill vibes. He just reminds me of Hank Hill.
The guy is such a douche. I cannot get over what a douchebag this guy is, and I don't understand how anybody followed, listened, wanted to be with. This guy is such a douchebag.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting with everybody that's kids just started kindergarten, I just want to say that I've my son has officially brought home his first drawing where one of the characters had their head exploded.
Oh God.
And just wondering if you guys have been there yet too.
I get a lot of those at home. I haven't gotten one home from school yet.
I was like, you can't draw this at school.
These are just private mommy drawings. So our sons are the same age. Mine just started kindergarten too. My little one, and he draws. We have like an app, and it like you can draw like different slides. And he
sorry, you guys.
Allie. And he draws these slides, and he's very good at storytelling. It's kind of crazy that at 5 years old he can tell these big stories.
Oh, yeah,
but he'll go really like fast, like past some of the slides, so that I don't see them because they're not ones that mommy likes. So he tries to like act like they're not there. So when he like tries to swipe really fast on the iPad, I'm like, wait, go back. And he's all, no, that one's okay. You don't need to see that one. This is the story. And I'm like, no, let me go back and see. He's like, he gets so frustrated with me. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Let me pull this up.
Thank you, LFT. That time I was actually trying to clear my throat, but okay. So I've got it right to, this clip is like the worst one, but there's a few in it. I'll give you the video after. Just tell me when you want me to press play.
I'm ready. Do it.
Okay.
Very loving to him.
Wow.
And she was hands down. She was a great mom, very patient with that kid.
8:30.
Okay. That was this. Okay, let's go here.
It's not her kid because she adopted him, right?
Right, she adopted him from Kay's family.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
Oh.
As a baby. She had him as a baby. Yeah, he was a drug baby, and so they adopted him as a baby. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And she was a really good mom to him. She was. She was really patient with him and very loving. I saw her. She's very loving to him.
Wow.
And she was hands down. She was a great mom, very patient with that kid.
Wow.
And so so she told me, she's like, yeah, JJ is at grandma's house. She went. So after I left, and I saw JJ right before I left, and she said within a week or so, that he had gone to Kay's house, and that, that's where he was. So then Tammy dies, and then she's in Hawaii when it happens, and I call her in Hawaii, and I say, hey, guess what? Tammy just died. Do you know this? And she goes, no, I haven't heard it yet. And I said, well, what happened? What happened to Tammy? And she goes, well, she was a zombie 2 weeks before she died. And I was like, really? She goes, yeah, she was starting to question our relationship. She was wondering if he was having an affair. I said, oh. And so...
So yeah, this lady like befriended her and then recorded her conversation and put it out.
Oh God. So she said, so Lori was already in Hawaii when Tammy died.
Yep, I guess Lori was there by herself, waiting for Chad, and Chad came because he was with Tammy.
Wow. Okay. So then they go. So he meets. So basically, his wife dies. He buries her, and then he goes on like a vacation because he needs to like deal with his emotions. And on this trip, he marries Lori, who's waiting there for him and has ordered the rings on Amazon. What was that, Christine?
Yeah. Isn't that how his kids found out about it? Like from the pictures in Hawaii? Like they didn't know?
Nobody knew. Nobody knew until those pictures were. I mean, I think everybody figured out they got married, and then all of a sudden, all the pictures were released. But I don't think that none of the kids knew that there was an actual wedding taking place. Hi, Pink Dahlia. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so she calls him a drug baby. Yeah, I mean.
She also talks about Tylee. She talks I remember being pissed because she talks smack about her. Like she kind of talks down. I can't remember exactly what it is, and I don't know where it's at on this, but I'll send you this. And I wonder if like have the whole call somewhere. I'll try to find that. But yeah, she definitely talks down about Tylee a little bit, and there's a few different things that are kind of interesting.
Oh, this just feeds more into Christine's theory that this woman has got more going on. Okay, let me go back over here. Okay. Let me take this one down. Okay, let me go back to that one. Okay, Missy.
Okay. So this is getting into how Tammy dies on December 11th, 2019.
This is when she's exhumed, right?
Yes. She's.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Woo! I'm starting to get tired. Brains.
I know. I'm like, it's East
brains
Coast.
going to
I
bed.
know. We'll get you through it. I promise. I promise.
Brains going to bed. I should have had a Dr. Pepper.
I just opened a second one. Okay.
Yes, this is when Tammy's body is exhumed, and because they her death is considered suspicious, they perform an autopsy. The full autopsy has not been released. We talked about how the kids touched on it. They were told it was asphyxiation, which could mean a number of things. And then the next day, Alex dies in Gilbert, Arizona, supposedly of a blood clot. But his wife, when she spoke with officers, said that before he died, he told her if anything had happened to him, there was money in a bag for her hidden in a closet. So I don't know where everybody else stands on Alex's death and whether they believe it was of natural causes or not.
Did he get exhumed?
I don't know, but I think that it was natural call. I think he had so much going on. That man had a heart attack.
Well, the only weird thing is because they do talk about like the family medical history, and that the family medical history does have these blood clots. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Did the stress like push this over the edge? Because one thing I did learn from the documentary was his wife says that he had said to her, "They're going to make me the fall guy." Mm-hmm. Like he knew what was going to happen, and then the next day he dies. So would stress affect this? I don't know. I'm not a doctor or a nurse, so somebody else could fill me in on that. But I thought they did they exhume him though too? I got to find that out because I thought they did exhume him too.
I'm trying to double check on that right now.
Well, okay. Zulema is so lucky that that's the way that happened. I think that they told him to get Zulema or whatever next. And
what did you watch her interview?
I was going to say there's so much to say about her too.
I watched her interrogations or her interviews.
Well, yeah, that interview. That's what I meant. Like, yeah. So she talks about how he was gonna give her a massage
on a tarp,
and they had to go and get like a tarp to lay down so that the stuff didn't get on the bed. Is what he explained to her. And then she lays down and basically is like, she's like, I could hear him doing stuff, but I don't like remember all of everything that he did.
Romancing on the tarp.
But I'm like, that's just nuts.
That's so crazy.
But then she stayed with him after that.
I think.
Well, they were spiritually connected. They were put together to prepare for the end of times as spiritual partners.
Right.
So she had to stay with him.
So was the other Melanie. So the niece Melanie was married to Brandon.
Oh wait, but did Lori and Chad tell him this is your Zulema now? Like.
Well, Alex took her last name in the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was trying to hide out, is what I think. But that's just my theory. Like he was trying to get off the radar. Like, hey, but like you're filing a name change. I think that's somebody's going to find you anyway. But, or I don't even know what I was saying before that. Sorry, you guys go.
I was looking for Alex. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think he was exhumed. I think because
No.
this article from Newsweek about the Netflix documentary is only 2 weeks old, and it just says he died of natural causes. But listen to this. I did not know this. In October of 2021, police in Arizona released a 2020 phone call in which Alex Cox's ex-wife, identified only as Debbie, alleged he had a sexual relationship with his sister.
Yes.
Debbie, who married Cox in 92 but divorced him a year later, told a detective he regularly discussed how attractive his sister was and detailed how the two would often engage in inappropriate sexual touching. Oh, was that just touching or was it like full on?
I have a video on that from Law and Crime if you want to link it in the description for people to listen to that interview.
Yeah, you can send it to me and I'll link it.
Okay, let me send it.
I'm gonna link the one that Allie just sent me too. So there's gonna be some links in the chat when this is, or not in the chat, in the description after this is over. I'll add them in.
Yeah, that one I think is just the full call, and it looks like it's 52 minutes long.
Wow,
it's a doozy.
Okay, so the next day, so they exhume her on December 11th, and he's supposedly telling his wife they're gonna make me the fall guy, and on December 12th he dies. Her son calls Zalima's, I don't know her, I can't say her name correctly. Son is the one who dials 911 and says that he doesn't know this guy, it's his mom's boyfriend, but they're actually married because they were spiritual equals, partners. And when they had gotten married, Melanie, the niece Melanie, who was married to Brandon, also marries her next husband, Ian, because they're spiritual equals. So Ian was married, got divorced. Brandon is another one that had a potential attack. Was he also shot with the paintball gun, or was that just Tammy?
It was okay. So he thought it was a paintball gun, but it was like when he saw it, but it was actually a real gun until I guess they found bullets, or I don't know, from the damage. They found out it was a real gun, but he thought it was a paintball gun. And they assumed that Tammy was actually probably, it might have been the same one and it not have been paintball gun. And that just looked like one. The gun that he was using looked like one. And if you remember, Chad and Lori were seen on that camera, or like at the storage building, moving that seat. And that was like right at the time that Brandon was shot at. And it said that the back seat would have had to been out or something for that shot to work, or whatever. It
was Charles' Jeep.
Yeah, that's Tylee was driving.
Jeep. Yeah, it was Tylee's Jeep, basically. It was Tylee's Jeep, and he took it because Tylee wasn't able to drive it anymore, apparently. And he took it down to Arizona and then shot at Brandon and missed, but shot out his window of his car. And then not long after, I don't know how many, I don't know the time difference, but then he goes to, when Tammy's alive, he is standing behind her car and starts shooting at her, but she calls it in as a paintball gun.
Yep, and people speculate maybe it was a real gun because, like, Brandon thought that was a paintball gun too. I was thinking that. I've learned a lot. I thought that for a second when we were talking that for some reason. Okay. I was thinking maybe they're not able to do it for some reason.
Maybe I was just thinking because they didn't do the autopsy on her. That's why they exhumed her so they could get the autopsy. But since they had the reports, I think maybe they just had them re-reviewed, because I remember it coming out like that somebody had re-looked at it, his case, and it was determined again that it was these whatever. So I thought somebody must have just looked at his paperwork.
I think I just sent you the autopsy.
Okay.
I do remember that coming up like later on as a topic of conversation, his cause of death again.
Who do you think was driving the Jeep? Do you think Melanie was driving the Jeep? I didn't actually think anybody was actually with him. I thought he was by himself, but I could be wrong.
That's what I thought too, but possibly Melanie. I mean, I don't know. She would seem to really be doing a lot of things like her Aunt Lori. So.
Oh yeah, she definitely was turning into her Aunt Lori.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do I move on yet or no?
Sure can. Trigger warning. Trigger warning. This is where we talk about the kids' bodies.
Oh, okay.
So on June 9th, 2020 is when the graves, the shallow graves, were discovered. 7 a.m., Rexburg Police Department, FBI, and Fremont County Sheriff's Office served a search warrant at Chad's home. They uncovered human remains buried on the property, and it ended up being JJ and Tylee. And for those that may not know, this was a pet cemetery in this area. The affidavit of probable cause states that JJ's body was wrapped in tight black plastic and secured with gray duct tape, and Tylee was dismembered and burned. It's just absolutely horrible. These poor kids. And like we said earlier, JJ was wearing those pajamas from the last photo of him. Oof.
Oh, I know this is a gruesome question, but I'm really curious of where that took place with Tylee. I hope that investigators have some kind of evidence. I know they're wanting to do DNA testing on some tools and stuff, so hopefully they do. But because they said Alex Cox's phone was there that time for like 12 or 14 hours. It was there for a long time. When JJ was the day that he was last seen, he was only there for a few minutes.
Yep, that's
And
this one right here.
That one there. Yep.
Okay. You can go through that one too if you want.
Okay. Oh my.
That means that Chad would have had to have, because JJ was buried like he was under wood and rock, like a layer of rock, and he was like really hidden, or I don't know. It took time.
They definitely did a bit of a better job with him, and it seems like, I mean, even the neighbors, I think, said that the Daybells were not known to use that fire pit, but then within the last few months, there was a fire lit often. So I am interested to find out exactly what happened with Tylee. But on September 9th, from 12 to 12:44 a.m., Cox's phone was located at his apartment. But then between 2:42 and 3:37, he was located at Lori's apartment. And that was the only time in September he appeared to go over Lori's between midnight and 6 a.m., returned to his apartment at 4:37 a.m., and then at 9:21 a.m., he was located at Chad Daybell's property. The GPS data point placed him near the east end of the barn, according to court records, and he was still at the property at 10:30 a.m. And then there was something kind of with his ping where it put him in St. Anthony, and I had read something where it could just be that's how the tower that he was going off of, because he was there again at 11:30, I believe.
Yeah, or people had wondered if he went and ate or something like that. Like went and
He
ate
went
lunch.
and ate and then was oh my gosh.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, just another day. Just go get a snack. He was working really hard all night.
This is the same day that Chad is texting Tammy, right? About that he was out doing something in the yard and saw a raccoon that he ended up shooting with just one shot. But not to worry, the raccoon is now buried in the pet cemetery.
Yeah.
I liked that part in the like the affidavit or whatever it was, or whatever that we read, and the cop was like, and I know from experience that raccoons are nocturnal creatures.
Yeah, I know from experience. Okay, so then he's also, so do we talk about he's out there again for JJ's?
He's out there for JJ's on the 22nd, or on the 23rd. So he was last seen in Cox's arms on the evening of the 22nd and appeared to be asleep. Now, this is per Melanie Gibb, so take that for what it's worth. his phone movements on the morning of September 23rd. He was at the Daybell property from 9:55 a.m. until 10:12 a.m. Total of 17 minutes, and that was over near the pond where JJ was found.
Yeah.
So that leads you to believe then that Chad actually buried him.
Yep. And he was actually buried with under some kind of stone, and it's like it links back to their religion. This certain stone, like they, I'll have to find it to tell you because I don't know the exact details. But it was done with a lot of like care and concern compared to Ty Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wonder. Yeah, I wonder where they. So Tammy was gone, so they could have done it anywhere. But I hope that the cops have more evidence. I hope that I don't know. I just hope that we know more. I'm so curious. What do you guys think about that psychic's reading?
Which psychic? I'm sorry.
The psychic, there was a psychic that had predicted where these kids were. She predicted exactly how they would be found and everything. It's like
she also predicted what happened to Tylee.
Yeah, she said dismembered, burned. JJ would be found wrapped in plastic in pajamas under a tree near a pond, not too far from Tylee. Like she said it all. And this was months before. I remember because I listened to her video. I was so like crazy about the case and watching everything that came out, you know, when you get like that. And she had done a video on it and I listened to it. I remember long before. Yeah, before they were ever found. So it's really weird because she also discusses the crime, you know, and she says that like stuff like Lori was part of it with Tylee and it was very aggressive and bad. And that she says that Tylee is who came to her, that her daughter was murdered, or her daughter was murdered. She was found in a pool. It was ruled a suicide or something, and that's why she became a psychic. And then her daughter came to her with Tylee, and Tylee was like, she wanted the world to know what her mom did to her, basically, and she wasn't going to stop until they did.
So that psychic now gets a lot of praise in because of her readings, and so there's a lot that happened like with Summer that she's done some readings, and typically if you hear like a psychic name drop in chat, it's typically hers because of the Vallow Daybell reading.
Yep. She also did some things with Suzanne. She said that Suzanne, there's so many things that she got right with that. She said that she saw Suzanne running from him around their house, and then come to find out they think that he chased her down after shooting her with that dart, you know, and she and then he busted through the door and there was you'd have to go listen to it, but there's people, I think Sweetie Vallow has done comparisons between what the police have said happened and things with what she did, and she puts it back to back. She actually does that with the Daybell case. She has the arrest affidavit, and she goes through and goes paragraph by paragraph, playing clips and then reading off the affidavit and showing how many things she got right. It's crazy.
And that's Suzanne's?
But she does it for Suzanne too, yeah.
Or did she do it for this one, where she was right, where she shows what she was right?
She shows where she was right for both of them. She goes through, I'm pretty sure, both of them, and shows in her readings and where she was right. Because I've heard Sweetie Vallow talk about it several times. I could probably find.
Is this accurate, Diane Marie? You guys, I didn't watch the reading.
Yes.
I've just heard so much about it.
She did. She said that when she got to her, she's like, I don't want to tell y'all what they're doing. And then she's like, they're cutting her up. They're like, she's like, I can't believe this. And then she's like, oh my God. She's like, she said they did that.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay, we'll just go move on to something else. Otherwise, I'm gonna get sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
Okay. Did I go too far? Am I supposed to go back?
You can go back.
Which one?
Slide before this one. Go backwards just one.
This one?
The one after that.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. The next one, the one about zombies. It's just.
Oh, this is when they start rating them on when they're being taken over by zombies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because
we've pretty much talked about the zombie thing. This is what it appears to be is their excuse to kill people.
right.
And it's anyone who isn't completely on board with them or doesn't fit into their plan is a zombie and has to be taken care of, essentially. Once a person becomes a zombie, death of the physical body is seen as the mechanism by which the body's original spirit can be released. So Melanie Gibb has said that it was Lori and Chad's mission to rid the world of zombies. And it was reported that in spring of 2019, Tylee had become a zombie, and she had allegedly heard Tylee saying, "No, not me, Mom. I'm not a zombie." But Lori had also told Melanie that Tylee turned into a zombie when she was 12 or 13, which is basically when she was becoming a teenager and becoming difficult or resistant. And then the same with JJ, which we now know she had taken him off of his medication for months prior, and said that he became a zombie and that his behavior was different. And he was supposedly talking about Satan, and so he was a zombie as well.
So, did you guys ever like look at the photos where, because she says he was climbing around like along the tops of the cupboards and stuff, and the photos in her townhome, you can't even get on top of those cupboards.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Yeah, she did say that he was up on the cupboards and knocking over a picture of, was it Jesus or a temple that
Jesus is a picture of Jesus.
It was Jesus that he knocked over. I mean, her house mostly had pictures of temples in it, so I'm surprised she had one of, of Jesus.
I mean, he probably just wanted some attention. Like,
well, he's not medicated. Look at his life. He's pulled from any kind of routine that he had. And, I won't go too far into it, but when I worked in education, I worked with children on the spectrum, and this kid, what he was put through, where he was taken in and out of programs, his comfort, his working dog, then his sister disappears, his dad is gone, his grandparents. I mean, of course, I would be surprised if his behavior wasn't out of control in any way, or emotional, or difficult. I mean, he had to deal with so much.
Yeah, poor baby.
Well, that's right. So Annie, Joe's sister, said like that she wondered if he, because of the autism, that he got caught like in a loop, like he had overheard something and they were worried that he was going to say it. But somebody earlier had said that she was really pissed off at Kay. And I wonder if that had a lot to do with it, because she knew that what JJ meant to Kay. And I wonder if there was a revenge aspect with the fact that Kay got the $1 million and she didn't.
I could see that.
I've always wondered that, because that's what I was saying. I wonder, because why else would she not send, like, if she, besides the money too, then the money comes into play, because I do think that was definitely a thing for them. Heck, that's what Chad's lawyers have been bought off of, his life insurance with Tammy. That's how they were surviving, because they didn't get Charles's
money.
But
so he got $430,000 for
she's not the
Tammy's
kind of
death.
mom that would like be like, oh, I don't want to be away from my kids, because she was away from him before, like for extended periods. So it's like, yeah.
Okay, where do I go from here?
That's basically all of the slides. There's just some photos at the end, but that is quote unquote the brief overview of all of this. Like I said, it doesn't even begin to touch on the court stuff and where we are right now. we can talk about that if anybody's up to date on.
So there's the court stuff. So this is something that I found out today. I don't know if you guys watch Scott Reich or not, but I do every once in a while. And so he was talking about this case, and you guys remember it was probably like 6-8 months ago that Pryor had actually put in the request talking about the prosecution and like basically like corruption in the prosecution. I can't think of the exact word that I want to use right now.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Can you guys tell me the word that I'm missing? Like prosecutor. I can't even say it. The misconduct. Yes. So there's a lady named Lori. Ironically, her name is Lori, and she is trying to get all the court docs. So everything is basically under like a gag order, and you can't get access to anything, which is kind of weird though, because everything is televised. Not televised, but zoomed and streamed. But the judge won't release any of the actual like documents. Night, Amelia. And so she's been requesting them, and they keep denying it. And so she's like taking it to like the Supreme Court, like a Supreme Court justice, and saying like, hey, like we have a right to like this information. And apparently she is aware of some screenshots, and tell me if this reminds you guys of anything, but some screenshots from Facebook groups or from social media groups where the prosecutor, judge, potentially judge, I don't want to say judge, prosecutor, and some other people were in a group, a social media group, talking about the case.
I know.
You do know?
I know what it reminds me of.
Oh, you know what it reminds you of? Yeah, because this came out about another case that every one of us here followed. That there was somebody who was working on the case who was also in a Facebook group talking about the case, and it kind of came back as some type of misconduct. But this is supposedly the prosecution, and so the judge is denying that these motions for like dismissal, which I mean I don't want him to not deny them, so I'm kind of okay with that. But they're saying like the prosecutors were involved in these chats on social media talking about the case.
I've never seen that though. Like I've never seen those screenshots.
Well, no, nobody's seen those screenshots. This letter that she wrote to the Supreme Court justice just came out. Oh. So Scott Reich just put this video out today.
They just had a hearing yesterday about cameras in the courtroom.
Right. And the judge doesn't want cameras in the courtroom. Which is weird because there's always been cameras in the courtroom for every hearing these people have had.
I don't like it. I think that just, if so, I hope there's at least live people in there live tweeting, because I want to be out. We're going to want every detail.
I'm selfish.
I just don't know why they would put cameras in there for that pretrial hearing before the actual trial that people like a jury pool would see. But now when they're having the trial, they don't. That's just ridiculous to me.
Like, how does that make any sense? It's ass backwards.
Yeah, it is.
Like if you were going to keep it, you would keep it out right now. But heads are going to roll if people aren't going to be able to see this trial. I cannot imagine what's going to happen.
Shoot, I would like to drive out there then.
Well, then her attorney, and I don't remember the new attorney's name because Mark Means is just stuck in my head, but I don't remember her new attorney's name. He is saying like, why are they zooming in on my client's face, and why are they doing this and that, like trying to make it like she's some fucking princess. Sorry, she's not.
Yeah,
but, I get it. She's innocent until proven guilty. I get it. I totally get it. But still,
Why does he say we all know her, or we know her mental diagnosis? The public, we all know it. The public doesn't know it yet, but we do. Okay, what the fuck? What does that have to do with anything?
Right. Because everything is under this secret gag order, basically, where nobody's allowed to talk about any of this kind of stuff. But
let's drop a Netflix documentary.
What?
I said Mark Means did make good TV though.
I don't know. I can't imagine there has to be some form of media in there. I can't. what are we going to just sit here and go live and just like go over like Nate Eaton's tweets? Because that's where we're at with this then. If there's no media in it.
Well, I'll be there.
I've had to do it with the Letitia Stout hearing. It goes so fast that like you do get information really fast. It really does go fast, but it's just
I thought
annoying.
Lauren Scharf did great with Morphew.
Yes,
Her tweets.
yes.
I was hooked to her tweets.
I feel more informed about
Twitter's hard for me.
I feel more informed about the court hearings and whatever the pre-trial things that they were tweeting from than like actually watching it.
Oh, really?
I read every tweet.
I want to see their face. I want to see their faces. I want to see that smug little look on her face. I want to see, especially when they end up in the courtroom at the same time, I want to see exactly how they look at each other.
Oh, yeah.
Me too. You know, though, the good thing is no matter what, they will have reporters there that not only will tell us all that stuff if we don't get to see it, they're going to, they're going to talk about all of that. And they're going to request and get the documents that are shown, and they'll put those out, and we'll at least get to see the evidence and stuff. But it's just frustrating not to see it in real time as it happens.
Yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm selfish. I want firsthand information.
I do too. This is a trial I would be glued to.
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. All the different crazy moving
This-
pieces. Goodness.
So when is
like
Chad's?
O.J. Simpson, really?
They're the same time.
together.
They're scheduled
Same
for
time.
2023.
Right. 2023. Okay.
Same time. So to save money.
January, right?
Yeah, as of right now, which I cannot imagine they're going to push it back anymore, but who knows? Who knows?
I don't think they can because they've already pushed it past Lori's right to a speedy trial, and they're infringing on her rights as it is to make it with Chad by so many days. So if they do it again, her lawyer actually said, because they asked her, would she give up her right to a speedy trial? And she said no. She wanted to have her right to that. So they still didn't grant her that. So I don't think they can push it back legally. They could get in trouble constitutionally, and
good point.
That could get it thrown out.
That's a good point. Yeah, so I mean January 2023, if they ban cameras, I think we're gonna have a lot of not so happy people on the social medias.
Yeah.
So as of right now, though, everything is progressing, and she's, because we went through the whole thing where she was, incompetent to stand trial, and now she's been deemed competent. Everything, all the wheels are in motion. So I mean, we'll see how it goes. And they are up for the death penalty. The prosecution is going after them for death penalty, for death row.
Yeah. Someone said, I think she was named to, they did say they were going to charge her in Charles's, but let me see. Because I remember
there is a charge on
that.
hers for Charles's. No, I thought there was. I just should have pulled that up before we came on here, but I thought there was a charge on just hers that has something to do with Charles.
I think you're right.
But I don't think they're going through with Steph, do you remember what the charge was? Let me pull it up.
I was going to say I have that list, but it's not open in front of me. Let me open it.
This is a great question, Jules 23. Do you think that one is going to turn on the other?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
I really do, because Chad's lawyer seems to really be distancing Chad from a lot of the stuff with Lori, I feel like. So I'm curious to see if I'm not sure that he'll turn, but I think that they're distancing him from it. I really do. And possibly that he would.
Okay. So before we go though, I have to know from everybody, do you guys think that Lori meeting Chad turned her evil, or Chad meeting Lori turned him evil, or were they both just evil and it was, No,
I think they both were on their own paths. I don't know if evil is necessarily the word. Now I think so, given everything they've done, but what they said, I don't know if they set out to be evil, but they certainly went down that path. But I definitely think that they are unhinged and have serious mental health issues.
I think they're like each other's like kryptonite. Like
Yeah.
That twin
ingredient.
flame toxic garbage.
Yeah, like the ingredient the other one needed to just like take it too far.
Yep. And they got together, and it just fueled everything that they already had going
Yeah.
on in their heads and already making waves in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
Lori
think
does have
that-
a Lori has a charge for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder in Maricopa County, Arizona.
Yeah, and that does carry a life sentence too. But I don't know that she'll ever get there if she gets on death row, right? Like, will they go and have that court too, or does that just like after, or how does that work?
I mean, they could. It depends on probably how this one goes, what they'll end up doing with it.
They're gonna
So
find one.
Allison comes in and says, "I think they've always been batshit crazy."
I think that Lori was like not a good person before, but I also think Chad is like diabolical. I think he's just evil. I really do. I think because like the way he manipulates and uses like religion and death, and like Tammy, like with her family. I don't know. I just find him to be so evil, and like even putting the kids on a scale of light to dark and stuff like that kind of shit is weird. Excuse my language, but
No,
yes.
you're fine. You're totally fine.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree that I just wonder about his childhood, like I'm always, when I see serial killers, psychopaths, I just, their whole psychological profile and their background I find so interesting, and I would love to know more about him and the
Yeah.
nitty-gritty details of his childhood.
I think they're going to be able
why
to find
isn't
one
his-
like more guilty than the other, and like one will get death and one will get life in prison.
I wonder how much of that will actually come up in trial, Miss. Do you think any of that will actually come into like crazy play for childhoods and all that back shit?
I mean, it absolutely could. It depends on the scope of how narrow or broad what they allow.
We
I
haven't
hope so.
heard from Chad's family. We don't really ever hear from anybody in Chad's family, but you have now heard from, Adam talks in this documentary. Her mom and her sister had done an interview prior where they basically said that, she passed her psych eval, so she may be off a little bit, but just kind of let her go and leave her be. And now they're like, we were totally wrong, and we know we were wrong. So that's what they basically state in this documentary.
How did you feel about that? Her owning up to being wrong.
I thought, I mean, she was wrong. I don't know how she could. I don't know if she had a choice but to admit that she was wrong, because there's no way around that. There's definitely something wrong with Lori. So whether she wants to say Lori actually committed these crimes or not, there's definitely mentally something wrong with Lori. And I think that that's so overly apparent at this point that as her mom, I think she's probably like, yeah, crap, I should have listened and I didn't.
I think it's gonna it will weigh heavily like on the witnesses like Melanie Gibb and Zulema and stuff about who they like say that was the ringleader of it, I don't know honestly which way they would do it, whether they'd say Chad or Lori.
But I think that they're going to pin a lot on Alex.
Yeah, I do too. Do they get paid for participating in the documentary? Do people get paid?
Well, no.
Netflix probably. Right? Netflix pays.
Yeah, Netflix pays for participation.
We know they do.
Yeah, but I don't know, do they all get paid? Do they all get like a chunk of it? I mean, I don't know.
And like Dateline, handles their guests that they bring on.
This was supposed to be Colby's, story. So I'm wondering, and she did an interview, I don't know what you'd call her, the executive producer, the person who created the documentary. She did an interview talking about this was actually all supposed to come out like last year, and they got access to all the Arizona files, and so they ended up pushing it back so they could integrate all of the Arizona stuff into this documentary.
Oh, wow. And
so, I mean, that's really big, because I think if they didn't have it, I don't know. I mean, it tells such a better story with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see it, and watching Charles on the body cam was just like gut wrenching to me. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe Colby got paid, but I'm wondering if did mom, aunt, sister, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if everybody did. Remember Chad talking about his loin fire?
I just get curious when when the participation of mom with how she stood up for her. Why, I don't know. I just feel like she's kind of eating crow at this point, and for her to, it just makes me wonder about people's, their motivations of why they do the things they do, and say, I'm just curious.
Well, the first interview that she did, the kids hadn't been found. So I think that she was probably just like, everybody else. And we, like, at the beginning of this, we all sat here and talked about, like, we thought that she just hid him somewhere else.
Yeah, but didn't she do the interview with the other sister after they had been found?
I thought she did it before. Somebody correct
maybe it was me. You're probably right.
I'm probably wrong.
Well, if there was no money involved and it was just all about like telling the story and stuff, then why wouldn't the Woodcocks have been involved? I feel like the money being involved would have been their reason. Like, no.
Yeah. And maybe the money wouldn't have changed anybody's opinions at all, but
I think it's by Meg Love says, I love how Julie Rowe was the voice of reason in this documentary. I totally agree with you. And she was talking, I was like, oh goodness gosh. Like, she's got some far out stuff of her own. But like I said this earlier, I think it was before you got here, Meg Love, I was like, well, thank God she's on the side of light. Because other than that, I don't know what would happen to that woman. Thank you, Punksy.
I don't know if anybody's mentioned it or not, but the guy that does reporting live from my sofa, and he does like the dramatic readings of like their like love letters and Chad's books and stuff.
Does he really?
Yeah, and it's funny.
I'm gonna have to find that. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it's hecka funny.
Cringe.
I'm worried though. I'm worried they're gonna blame everything on Alex, or they're gonna use it at least to create the reasonable doubt. Like, we didn't do it. Chad with the text messages being there, I think is gonna put him down as at least an accessory to
and running, fleeing.
Oh yeah, then he tried to like take off when they were searching the property. He was like, like the phone call that he's like on with Lori while they're searching. He's like, so they're searching, and she's like, oh, they're searching the house, because they had already searched the house back in December. They went with a search warrant and searched the house and found nothing, of course. And then and she's like, oh, they're searching the house. He's like, no, they're searching like outside. And she's like, oh, okay. Is there anything I can do for you?
Oh my God.
And she's like, do you want me to call you later? He's like, I don't know. I thought that was hilarious, because he's like, yeah, I'm not really sure I'm going to be available.
Bitch, I'm going to be in jail.
Not available.
I don't know if you should call me later.
Like, Chad's kids, what do you think about that call? How does that not show that he knows exactly what they were going to find?
Oh, yeah.
And all of the get rid of Ned and the zombie talk, and just there's so much surrounding it.
That's me for sure. I can't even like I don't even like it's very hard to just understand. I guess you really do have to be under that. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, I don't understand how his kids, like I said, there's 5 of them, how one of them isn't like, yes, there's something wrong here. Like, we gotta open our eyes. Like, there's something off here.
Yeah. He was putting his out to the public, he was, I mean, maybe Lori, it was just narrowed down to her friends and family, at first, but this man was out there, with his craziness. Yeah.
And if you think about, like, this is all the stuff that we know and we've seen, and they're still holding quite a few cards, for trial. Otherwise, there wouldn't be all this gag stuff happening with the courts. So if this is what we already know, this trial is going to be crazy.
Yeah,
I definitely want to see all the evidence that they took from her apartment, or from her townhouse. I want to see all the things that they have, all the evidence we haven't seen.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hope there's a lot, because of they're real, like you said, they're going to just say, oh, this was just Alex. He just took it and ran with it. So this is all on him.
I feel like these two they communicated a lot together. And I feel like a lot of that's going to come out. We're really going to see exchange of conversation and just how that shit crazy it was getting, or it got there, I guess you could say. But
did they physically have burner phones? They're talking about burner phones in the chat. Did they physically have burner phones, or did they have burner numbers on their phone? Do we know?
Lori had a bunch
They
of
had
phones.
phones. Yeah, they had phones.
22 to 27 phones? Like physical
Who has
phones?
that many?
How'd you even keep track?
How many zombies are you talking to? Oh my God.
Shoo.
Is there like one per person?
Right.
That's sad. I can't keep track of my own phone. Please.
Right.
I lose my own phone.
Well, I mean, I guess I'd like to have a backup.
Let me just
You know what I
reach
mean?
into
Like,
my
because I lose
drawer.
my phone, I'm like, crap, where's my phone?
If I didn't have Find My Phone on my laptop connected to my cell phone.
Grab that burner over there real fast. For my fifth
So,
phone.
if you guys haven't listened, and I don't know if analytics does a lot on YouTube anymore. I haven't dug, recently into anything that's been happening until now. But at the beginning, when all this was going on, she did a bunch, and she's very thorough and meticulous in her findings. I always thought that she did a great job. So maybe somebody can tell me if she's still doing it. If not, analytics is a good channel to listen to in regards to Joseph Ryan and what happened with that situation. I'll post her link, and I'll post all these links to these different, like to the longer version of that call that Allie played, and the ones that Missy sent me on like the autopsy and stuff. I'll put all that in the description for you guys too. So but I'm telling you, every single slide that was on here. Did we lose Allie? We lost Allie.
Yeah.
Allie, where'd you go? We lost you. Did you fall asleep? Don't fall asleep, Allie. We're almost done, I promise. But
we're crawling to the finish line.
We're crawling to the finish line. But I'm telling you guys, there's literally on every single slide, there's a rabbit hole, or 5 or 20 if you want to go down the amount of cell phones there are. But you can, if you want to dig, it's definitely something to dig for.
I'm extremely thankful for these slides, because for me, who doesn't really know too much about this case, and even catching, the little bit of the documentary, it really helped put everything in for me. I just kind of sat back and listened. It was good. Very good presentation, Nick. Very good. Very good.
Okay, so Steph says she still is going. She's still doing. She has a very in-depth series. She does. She goes over every piece of paperwork she requests. She requests. Can't even talk anymore. She requests everything and has all of it. So, but Missy, you did an amazing job. You really, really did. Steph's telling you too. You did an amazing job putting this together, and just, the enough context where it's easy to follow without all the rabbit holes. So
I had to rein it in. My teacher in 7th grade, my English teacher in 7th grade, said once, and I still think of that, where she goes, "Sorry for." Look, see, my brain just went out the window. I was going to go somewhere with it. It was sorry for the long note. I didn't have enough time to write a short one. And that is how my brain works. And so I went, oh my gosh.
Or something.
I'm trying to cut things out and not go too far and not go. So it's enough to get you started.
Okay, so Steph said not analytics, pretty lies and alibis.
Yes, that's
I don't know if I've ever actually heard that channel.
Oh, it's so
I'm gonna look it up though.
Oh, thanks, Allie.
Pretty lies. Oh, there she is. You didn't fall asleep, yay! I'm like, there's way too much excitement for you to go to sleep. We're talking way too much. Meg Love, you're absolutely welcome. I was obsessed with this case as it was going down. I try to follow all the updates and stuff. And Missy asked, she's like, "Are you going to cover this case with the documentary?" And I'm like, this was one case that I had put a lot of stuff in a specific group that I no longer have access to, so I didn't do this on my personal laptop, and so I basically lost all research that I'd ever done with this case. So what I have was in my memory, and she was like, "I'll do it. I'll put it together." And I'm like, "Holy crap, that's awesome!" And you did amazing.
Thank you.
And you probably shouldn't do that good of a job because then I'm going to want you to do other cases.
Like, we need a slide, miss. We need a
Oh my
slide.
God.
Oh,
Missy's one of our
no.
human assets.
I'm like and I didn't mean to be the PowerPoint nerd, but it was the easiest way to get it done
No,
fast.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know,
Beautiful.
you can
Absolutely.
make fun of
Human
me. You can
asset,
come
Missy.
for me with my
No,
PowerPoint.
I love me a good
but-
PowerPoint. I like visual aids. I thought you did great. And
Well, if I did a video, you'd have to keep stopping. So I just wanted you to have something to just to scroll on through. But thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
you are welcome anytime. And Allie, you know, I adore your whole soul, your whole being. So, you know, you're welcome anytime. Even if you just want to take a nap when you're on panel, whatever it is, you know, do what you got to do.
We love it.
Yeah, go ahead. But I appreciate you guys. I know it's really late on a Friday night, so I know that the East Coasters are like, okay, I want food and bed. And Steph, thank you so much for being in chat and helping out, make love. I know some of you guys know so much about this. I appreciate all the commentary. And you know, as I say every week, it's you guys have 100 different places you could choose to spend your Friday night, and you guys choose to spend it here with us, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. So thank you.
Oh, am I taking us out?
Yeah, you
Night,
can,
guys.
yes. So just if you guys on your way out, if you wouldn't mind just making sure you guys hit the like button so that we can get boosted in the algorithm. We really appreciate it.
All right, y'all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Missy, Allie, thank you.
Night, guys. Love you, Pink.
Wrenches,
Bye.
thank you.
Hey, Allie. Here comes.